In 1931, a psychologist named Winthrop Kellogg and his wife Luella brought a baby chimpanzee into their home. Her name was Gua. She was about 7.5 months old. At the same time, the Kelloggs had a young son named Donald. They wanted to raise Gua and Donald together, almost like siblings. Same house, same food, same routines. If a Western chimpanzee was raised like a human child, how human could it become? This was connected to nature versus nurture. Nature means the traits we are born with. Biology, genetics. Nurture means the environment around us. So Gua was not kept in a cage. She lived inside the family home. She wore clothes. She ate at the table. She was held, taught, and tested alongside Donald. They observed both closely. They measured memory, reflexes, balance, strength, problem solving, emotional reactions, and obedience. In other words, almost everything Donald and Gua did became data. And at first, Gua seemed to be doing extremely well. In many early physical tasks, she developed faster than Donald. She climbed better, she balanced better, she reacted more quickly, she learned routines faster. She could respond to simple commands like, "Come here, kiss, and no." She learned to drink from a glass. She used a spoon. She recognized people and daily patterns. To an outside visitor, Gua may have looked almost like a strange, hairy toddler. And that was exactly what made the experiment so fascinating. It seemed to suggest that environment had enormous power. Gua was learning behaviors that a wild chimpanzee would never normally learn. But there was one major limit. Gua could not speak. This was not because she lacked intelligence. Chimpanzees are intelligent animals.
They can solve problems, use tools, form relationships, and learn from observation. But spoken human...
It requires a specific shape of the throat, tongue, and mouth that chimps simply do not have. As Donald got older, he started saying words, but Gua never did. She could understand many words, but she could not produce them. Eventually, the experiment ended early. Gua was separated from the family and sent to a primate facility. It was a jarring transition for her. From being treated like a human child, she was suddenly just a chimpanzee in a cage. She had been a sister to a human boy, but now she was back among her own kind, learning how to be a chimpanzee again. The experiment eventually led to significant questions about ethics, treatment of non-human subjects, and the limits of nature and nurture. Donald and Gua were both shaped by the world around them. Gua copied human routines, Donald copied chimpanzee behaviors. Both young minds were flexible.
Both were learning from each other, but the experiment also showed that environment has limits. Gua was not becoming human. Donald was not becoming a chimp.
They were influencing each other, but they were still developing within the limits of their own species. A baby chimpanzee and a human baby.
These may look similar in some early stages of development. They can play, they can learn routines, they can form bonds, they can imitate, but they are not on the same developmental path.
Chimpanzees develop quickly in early physical skills. Human babies develop more slowly, especially in movement and independence. After about 9 months, the Kelloggs ended the experiment. One major reason was concern for Donald's language development.
Bleh.
Gua was sent away from the family home and returned to a private facility. Gua did not understand that she had been part of a scientific... She only knew the people, routines, and child she had lived with were suddenly gone. She had been brought into a human family.
Gua died not long afterward at around 3 years old. Today, the Kellogg experiment is remembered as one of the most unsettling studies in developmental psychology. The study revealed that biology sets the boundary, while environment shapes the expression of those traits. It was a harsh lesson in the limits of intervention.
We carry our histories in ways we don't always understand. The experiment ended, but the questions it raised about who we are.
Every memory is a bridge. Sometimes we don't realize what we are crossing until we reach the other side. The study of development continues today, carrying the lessons of the past into a more ethical future.